left off with our torso, head, neck, and arms. Go into your add-ons, make sure Mesh Auto Mirror is now on. We're going to need it. So if you didn't do it already, you really need to make sure Mesh Auto Mirror is turned on for that modifier for helping us to make the legs and feet. Now, up at the top, I'm going into this pull down to show some features about the origins. It's important to understand about origins, and the origin means like the sort of center of each object, or sort of it's the yellow dot, and you can turn them all on. If you turn them all on for any object that's not selected, it's like a faded white dot. It can be a little bit confusing, so you don't tend to turn them all on. You just want to have your main one on, the yellow dot. And it's an important idea to understand about origins because it's going to help us now with the mirroring stuff. And the mirroring stuff is just to help us to keep symmetry for our model, so that again it'll make the rigging a lot more fluid. I added a plane by mistake. I wanted to add a cube. Just Control Z, just undo it. We're all human. Here's a cube. This is going to be our leg. And I'm doing it slowly just to show. So of course the leg is not in the middle. And I'm showing that the origin is now moved away from the sort of hip center, or sort of x equals 0. And that's an important idea to kind of keep in mind. Just want to understand, because that's how the mirror modifier works. The mirror modifier chooses the origin of the object to mirror around. So for it to work properly, you basically have to offset the origin away from the center of the geometry. Well, it's so hard to explain with words. Let's make a leg. Okay, as you can see, the yellow dot in the center there is still in the center of the rectangular block there. That's going to be our leg. But I kind of want I want that origin to be up at the hip, or at least over on the x equals 0. See, all these ones everything has the origins at the center, and that helps with our symmetry. So trying to set up the same thing right here, want to have that origin moved over. And basically the great way would be to basically have the origin moved to the origin 0, 0, 0, where the 3D cursor is. The 3D cursor is that sort of cross with the white and red sphere around it. And you go up into the menu and you say, hey, change it, set the origin of the geometry to the, origin of our world. Okay, so now you can see that the leg is still selected, but the yellow dot is up at the hip. Okay, and now it'll allow us to use the mirror modifier, and now I've mirrored the leg with the space because it chooses. And now I'm undoing it just to kind of do it all over again to show, hey, I really want you to see how this works in action. So I'm going to step through backwards with Control Z undos to basically, show it again to make it absolutely crystal clear. Again, I just want to show that all these geometries have their origins at the center. Just doing a save there, and basically wanting to show this idea. So I'm going to make a leg again. Okay, as you can see, the cube has its origin in the middle of it. Okay, we'll look all the way around. We're going to resize it using scale, and then resize it again using scale to make like this block, rectangular block that's like a leg. See, but the origin is still in the center. Now we're going to move it down, okay, and kind of move it over to where a leg should be. And you can do it left or right, doesn't matter. Okay, because when we choose, and there's the origin. Okay, And now, just to emphasize again, hey, let's have that origin turned on so we can see where they are if you don't have it turned on. Now again, I'm emphasizing if you turn them all on, you'll see the faded white dot, and that's kind of confusing. So turn it off, have the main one turned on. Okay, good. We see it. Move your leg to where you basically should have your leg. And it's probably a good idea to make it a little narrow. Now again, we're looking straight on with the Y. Okay, the negative Y, by clicking on that axis. And the leg is a little thick, because when we put the other leg there, it's going to be a problem. You want to have some space there. You see the blue line representing the Z going straight up and down, kind of shows us our gap of space. Okay. Now again, we're sort of on the scale of it. We're kind of just wanting to let you look at this and see it. Again, we have the geometry offset from the center. Okay. We have the 3D cursor, as you can see, is sort of up at the belt buckle or the hip. That's the 3D cursor, origin of the world. The 3D cursor is, you can click anywhere in the world to set the 3D cursor, and the important way to reset it to the world origin is Shift C. So I moved it over here just to demonstrate. You use it to help you. Sometimes you need to place things around the 3D cursor to help you, in a big complex sort of setup. And now I put it back with Shift C. Shift C puts it right back. I'm showing here just again, you can click around, put it anywhere, but then if you have Shift C, it puts it to the origin of the world. Okay, and that's important for us here because we want to take our leg. Now we're looking straight on through from minus Y. Okay, we clicked on the axes, so it looks like almost like a 2D. It's just we're looking so straight on, dead on, and it's to help us with our symmetry because we're looking like from straight ahead directly, at this T pose, and we're seeing how much space. Now we have the leg. Just saving here. If you right click, you get a pie menu if you have all the features turned on. Now the origin is still in the middle of this block. Again, second time doing it, so just want to walk you through the steps again. What you do is you go up here to the object, and you sort of pick that option for resetting the origin to the world center, and save. Okay, now we can go over and the mirror. So this is the default settings that you typically see. Okay, when you have something selected in Blender, it's that sort of blue item on the right, and you want to go to the one that's the green wrench. Those are your modifiers, and that's right underneath the blue box, which has basically the properties. The green wrench is called a modifier. You pick the mirror modifier, and because it's already picking the X, it'll just automatically do it. If you turn it off, nothing. You can also flip in other ways, but that's what we want, is to flip along the X. The X is left and right, so that's where we want to have mirroring to keep our symmetry. And then the last step there was basically applying the modifier to kind of finish it or finalize it. So you really have two legs here with one origin. Okay, it's duplicated it. There's one origin now at that sort of, at the world origin. That's fine. We don't need to worry about having two objects tied to one origin. I mean, it's just a model here. You can imagine now that if you would to grab each leg and move them apart, the other leg, corresponding leg, would also go apart. It's like you're spreading your legs. Sorry, I don't want that to sound, the legs come apart more. And of course, if you put the legs, in towards the Z line, the blue line, it would be, now I'm making a foot here. Okay, it's just to do the same thing all over again, because obviously with the feet, it's the same thing. So same idea to kind of set it up using a cube and then move it into position. The origin is still obviously tied to the middle of that. You see the yellow dot there at the circle, the very center. Now we're looking straight on, and I hit, if you hit the other one, it'll flip it back from the back. Now we're looking straight on from the front. And again, you just want to make sure that you have your, you know, the origin is still here. That's not going to help us. We need to move it, okay, reset the origin using that option there for, moving it to the world center. Okay, so the foot is still selected, but the origin's up there. See at the 0, 0, 0, okay, where that circle is, So now we can use the modifier, okay? So we go back to the wrench, okay? It's gonna keep that space, between, along the X. So you mirror it, and now it'll work. And of course, then you want to just finish applying your modifier. You go back over to that. You do the pull down. You say apply, and that sort of finishes it. When you apply your modifier, it kind of like sets it. You don't have to set it because sometimes you need to adjust things in that modifier settings before you set it. But once you set it, it's kind of there. It's kind of, you can still undo it with undos, but it kind of commits you on the application of the modifier, so to speak. And that's an important step. So, we didn't do much here. We just made legs and feet, but we used the mirror modifier to help us keep our symmetry, and that's an important part. So that brings us to the end of this part. And, just by doing it a few times, it took a little bit longer, but there you go.